Alright, hey, what's up? So, I decided that this needs to be done in the correct way because it's not a thematic review of this kind of music if it's not done in style, in the correct style. So, I got my shirt ready. It's not hipster anymore, but we'll fix that. We're going to pop the collar. Alright, so now, next thing I need a scarf. We're going for a scarf. Alright, got my scarf. Need my ironic glasses that I don't need to see at all. This actually will make it so I can't see a bit. And then my ridiculous haircut that doesn't match anything. I think I'm finally ready to review Arcade Fire's new album, Reflector. Alright, so right here, it doesn't actually have a title. Sort of, on the back, Reflector. But this is Arcade Fire's new album, Reflector, and I'm going to give you some history on the band because nobody knows a thing about them. Arcade Fire is an indie band based out of Montreal, Quebec. Yep, I'm going to look for a second so I can see. Along with Willem Butler, Tim Kingsbury, Jeremy Gara. The band's touring lineup consists now of permanent member Sarah Newfield and collaborator Owen Pallett. It started between Win Butler and Renee Kassanja, which is actually a husband and wife. They recently had a kid. Another musical prodigy to come up in the world somewhere, I'm sure. But what happened, actually, is this band was nothing. They were actually founded between Win Butler and Josh Dew from Montreal around 2001. They met at the Philip Exeter Academy as high school students. They both attended Cornucopia University, where their musical ideas began to develop, and the first version of the band was born. They began to rehearse material at McGill University, where they started and met his future wife, Regine. A music student was asked to join them, and then they began to form what would later become the Arcade Fire EP. Almost the whole band was fired after that, before they enlisted a new band for Funeral, the amazing album that brought everyone together. But that's okay, I guess, because when you're Arcade Fire, firing people doesn't really matter. Fire. Any case, let's jump into this. So, The Suburbs. Right here, The Suburbs. It's a huge album for a million reasons. To be fair, to compare it to something, it takes real, huge comparisons. Because this is an album that's based completely on a place. When you go into an area, this is what you kind of think of. Like, this is the island, the Haitian Jamaican album, the Arcade Fire Jamaican album. And it's a double album, actually. It's 2 discs. I'm going to fall out here if I do this. And the thing about it that's so impressive is that it's nothing like anything they've ever written before. You sort of have a sound in your head of what you think you hear when you hear Arcade Fire, and they just destroyed that on this album. It's like, nope, sorry, we're going to do something you'd never expect, because that's what the most indie hipster band in the world would do. And they did. Take an example would be David Bowie's Berlin trilogy. It's got this feel of Germany to it. You know, you can't think of anything other than Germany when you're listening to it, because that's what it was designed to do. And another example would be The Clash, Sandinista. Sandinista's got that signature feeling about it that you can't think about it in a different light once you're really put to thought about it. And it's just like, when you hear that this was made in Haiti and Jamaica, when you listen to the music, you're like, oh, I get it. That makes sense. So, when it started, they actually took a trip down, him and his wife, Win Butler and Regine Kassanja, made a trip down to her native home of Haiti, where they discovered a lot of things, including the Rera music style, which I actually had to look into before I reviewed this, because I had no idea what that was. I didn't. That's a thing. But it's interesting. And after that, they decided to take a trip as a band down to Jamaica, where they went, instead of going into the Louisiana Dockside studio as planned, they went to Trident Castle, where they bunked together for a month. And that made the whole album go through as wouldn't have happened otherwise. The whole album would have fallen apart without that. Following that, everybody knows that James Murphy of LCD Sound System made a huge impact on the second half of the album, because they made it back stateside, and he was the producer. He says he didn't do much, but if you listen to it, you can hear so much LCD Sound System in it. I don't think he did, coffee break kind of stuff like he says he did. I think there was some serious producing going on. So let's go from the top. First song on the album is called Reflector, and I used the David Bowie comparison earlier because David Bowie is actually featured on this song. And any band that can get David Bowie to actually do a solo feature in a song like this is the coolest band in the world. Let's be honest. An instant transport to the islands of Haiti, or Jamaica, where it was recorded. This album channels LCD Sound System and the amazing tribal drums that they learned while on the island. It's just completely island and rhythmic, heavy sections. It's just crazy off the charts different, you know? When you listen to it, it's like, this is the people that made Neon Bible? What? Following that, We Exist adds some glam. It's like funk glam. Take the Chili Peppers bass lines and throw in some like Poison's glam style, and that's what happens with this song if you add Arcade Fire. Flashbulb Vibes has this reggae influence, but it's also like if you were to take a reggae band and play it in space. Yeah, like lasers and rocket ships and reggae. That's what happens with Flashbulb Eyes. Here Comes the Night. It features music from the Haitian Rara. It frequently changes pace and rhythms, switching it up constantly throughout the whole song, and it talks about the relationship between Haitians and Christianity. They're sort of forced. Christianity probes the island's nations, just kind of attacks them, and it was actually Win Butler's personal account of how he was completely attacked by the probing Christianity while he was there. That's what that song's about. Here Come the Night is kind of a depressing song, actually, when you really look at it, because he was being probed by religion. Here Comes the Night. You know. Anyway, moving past that, it goes into Normal Person, which is my favorite song on the album. I don't know why it is. It just works. It shouldn't. It really shouldn't, because it's this southern swamp rock kind of thing, but it's designed with a sloppy guitar line, like on purpose. It's something that any high school, college guitarist could have come up with any basic guitar skill, but that's what makes it so cool, is because the idea is it was written by a normal person. Anybody could have written this song. That's what the significance of it is. Like, hey, you could have written this. Look, simple guitar. Nothing big here. You could have done this. But at the same time, it's an amazing song that just kicks it into gear, and it's catchy and fun and interesting. But anybody could have done it. The normal person thing. And there's no such thing as a normal person as the song goes on, so anybody could have written that song. And I think that's what the cool message about that is. You already know channels the early punk of like the Clash and the Ramones, maybe the Replacements. It slows down to a very 80s punk feel, and yeah, it's got an 80s Clash punk feel to it. Joan of Arc is this post-punk jam. It starts off sloppy and crazy, and you can't even really hear the melody at first, and then it smooths out into this long, lengthy jam sort of thing, and just everyone just kicks in a little bit, and they start singing in French at the end to honor the subject matter, of course, Joan of Arc. And the next one is a hidden track. It's a very random music. It sort of doesn't really matter. It jumps around and has no real organization to it. It's not really a secret song like on some secrets. It's just sort of missing pieces of recorded noise. So that doesn't matter. Here Comes the Night Time 2 is a slower floating recap of the previous version. Awful Sound, O Eurydice brings back the island percussion to tell us epic tale of music and love. It's the tale of Orpheus. It's a Greek myth about the creator of music, pretty much. Orpheus and his lyre, and how he lost his love. But that's a long story that I don't have time to tell in this exact review. It uses a lot of synths, and it builds up through the whole thing. It's Never Over, O Orpheus, is the second part to that. It's this island funk jam that tells the second half of the Greek romantic story. Porno, that's right, you heard me. Porno is a sexy, synth-driven song that is... It's another very strong song off the album, and talks about human urges and the ability to just have to lust after things. Boys and their porno. It's lust. It's a lust song. It's called Porno for a reason. After that, we get into Afterlife. It's another song that has completely destroyed anything you could have expected, because it jumps back to funeral era Arcade Fire. That's right. I actually think it jumps back to funeral era Arcade Fire, to a huge sing-along moment with synths, LCD sound system sort of feel, and it builds up all the way to the end, this big climactic thing that they're always known for, and it's great. It's awesome. Supersymmetry is an 11-minute long dream synth pop song, apparently written to aliens. You know, you heard me correctly. That song was written to aliens. Win Butler said that himself. And, you know, why not? But anything that Arcade Fire does turns into something amazing, apparently, because every album by them has been great. And even the 11-minute song, Supersymmetry, the dream pop song, turns out to be interesting, and I think that says a lot. I really do. Arcade Fire will never be normal. I think that they're on a track to be the strangest band on the planet if the Flaming Lips weren't in the way. They have this creative lapses and brains that come up with things that nobody else would have thought to do on this album. They could have just continued that strain of indie-ness that they had, but at the same time they've reinvented themselves. and have re-established themselves as, yes, the coolest band on the planet. They went on Stephen Colbert with giant foam heads and announced themselves as the Reflectors instead of using their own name and getting tons of bumps in sales. They called themselves a fake band name just because they didn't care. Now, if that's not cool, then nothing is. Giant foam heads with William Shakespeare, with all the heads of the band, and one of Stephen Colbert that was like twice the size of the other ones. That's just the essence of pure awesome. They played a secret show in LA that was in a factory warehouse. Who does that? You know? It's just that kind of stuff that makes them the coolest band on the planet right now. And ending with my hipster glasses, I will give this album 4.5 stars out of 5. It's an amazing album. I actually think that it's a really tough decision between 4.5 and 5, but I can't say. So either way, recommended songs. Just listen to the album, the whole thing. Recommend it. Seriously. Alright, thanks for listening. This has been One Hipster Review. One hipster to another. Thanks.